Hey, and welcome back to Podcast PD with Christina. Before we jump into new learning today, I want to pause and say thank you. An overwhelming amount of staff completed the pre-podcast survey, and that matters. Your honesty matters in the survey. And the patterns that emerged from your responses are what's guiding this work. And I also want to thank all of the people that have texted me or emailed or stopped me in the hallway to share a takeaway from the podcast or that you appreciated it and you feel like this could help in your classroom. And so keep that coming because it's a lot of work, and I hope that it is something that everyone wants and is listening to, and just listening to take away one thing. You don't have to apply everything. So this episode is about you. It's about what you said you're experiencing in your classrooms, what feels hard right now, what feels different, and what kind of support you're actually asking for. So the survey results identified some clear themes. You said student behaviors feel more intense than in previous years. Regulation, not academics, is taking up more instructional time. Transitions are a major trigger point. Shutdown behaviors are increasing in older students. Staff want practical, ready-to-use strategies, not theory. Many of you feel confident in relationships, but less confident in de-escalation during high-intensity moments. And there is a strong desire for shared language and consistency across classrooms. And maybe the most important pattern is you care so deeply about your students, and you are trying, and you want tools that actually work. That tells me something powerful about the staff that I get to work with. And several of the responses reflected something else too. Exhaustion. Comments like, it feels constant. I don't feel like I get to teach. I'm not sure what works anymore. I don't want to escalate things. And I have to say, that emotional weight is real. When behaviors feel unpredictable, it activates our own stress response. And when adult nervous systems are elevated, classroom environments can escalate faster. And so today we're going to talk about two things: why all of this feels a little heavier, and what can we do in the classroom that is realistic. So from a trauma-informed lens, here's what may be happening. We are seeing more students whose nervous systems are living in chronic stress. We are also experiencing chronic stress as adults. So that means that we have faster fight responses, longer freeze responses, lower frustration tolerance, and bigger reactions to small triggers. And when multiple students in a room are dysregulated, the environment becomes contagious. Stress spreads, but so does regulation, and that's where we focus. So we know that transitions are difficult for many students, but they're especially hard for children who've experienced trauma, because trauma changes how the brain develops and responds to change in the environment. When a child experiences chronic stress, the brain adapts for survival. The stress response system, particularly the amygdala, becomes highly sensitive, scanning constantly for danger. Over time, neural pathways are strengthened around protection and threat detection, rather than flexibility and higher level thinking. This is what we mean when we say that the brain becomes rewired for survival. You shared transitions are one of the hardest parts of your day, so let's zoom in on why that might be. Transitions require cognitive flexibility, emotional regulation, task shifting, and the ability to let go of control. All of those skills are housed in the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning, impulse control, and flexible thinking. Under stress, however, the prefrontal cortex is the first area to go offline. And when that happens, students lose access to the very skills transitions demand. In a regulated brain, the prefrontal cortex supports impulse control, planning, and smooth shifting between tasks. But children and adults impacted by trauma, this area disengages more quickly under stress. And when it happens, the child cannot access flexible thinking or emotional regulation right at the moment those skills are needed the most. So when a student melts down at the end of recess, resists lining up, or shuts down during a subject switch, it's not usually about the subject. It's more about the nervous system feeling overwhelmed. Transitions require letting go of one activity, tolerating uncertainty, and moving into something new. For a nervous system shaped by unpredictability or past experiences of loss, that shift can feel unsafe. Even routine changes, like ending recess, switching subjects, packing up to go home, can signal a loss of control. And when a child has learned that unpredictability equals danger, their body reacts accordingly. The brain may interpret a simple transition as a threat, triggering fight, flight, or freeze. And this is why traumatized children may argue, resist, run, avoid, shut down, or escalate emotionally during seemingly minor changes. These responses are not about the subject that they're going to or lining up or having to put toys away. They're about the nervous system attempting to restore safety and control. Predictability equals safety for a trauma-impacted brain. When routines are consistent and transitions are scaffolded, the brain does not have to work as hard to assess threat. Visual schedules, countdowns, and clear warnings reduce the cognitive load and lower anxiety. Giving small, structured choices restores a sense of control. Validating emotions communicates safety and attunement. Consistency rewires the brain in the opposite direction, toward regulation, trust, and flexibility. And the encouraging part in this is that just as trauma can rewire the brain for survival, consistent, safe relationships and predictable environments can rewire it for regulation. Each calm transition with a co-regulated moment and each predictable routine helps strengthen neural pathways associated with safety and executive functioning.
Fifth grade.
So when transitions feel disproportionately difficult for a student, it's often not defiance. It is a brain doing exactly what it was trained to do, protect itself. And our job as educators becomes helping that brain experience enough safety, consistency, and co-regulation to learn a new pattern. Now, let's expand our transition toolkit even more, because the more predictable we make transitions, the safer the nervous system feels. So first, use visuals whenever possible. I hate walking into a meeting or a professional development without having the agenda ahead of time. I like to know when breaks are going to be. I like to know when I'm going to have my lunch. And so a posted daily schedule or a simple checklist on the board, a now, next, first, then card, or even writing recess with an arrow to math where students can see it, can help those transitions become more concrete. So from a brain science perspective, uncertainty activates the amygdala. That's the brain's alarm system. When students cannot predict what is happening next, their brains begin scanning for potential threat. For trauma-impacted students, that threat detection system is already highly sensitive. Visual schedules reduce ambiguity. They give the brain concrete information, which reduces the need to guess. And guessing is what triggers stress. Visuals also offload working memory. When the day is visible, students do not have to hold it mentally. This preserves cognitive energy for regulation and learning. For younger students, picture schedules support comprehension and predictability. For older students, crossing off completed tasks activates the brain's reward system and reinforces progress and control. Seeing what's next lowers their anxiety and builds safety. Along with knowing your schedule, another thing that you can try is to use countdowns and visual timers. A timer on the board, a sand timer, a projected countdown, even holding up 5 fingers and slowly counting down. For young students, time is abstract, and abstract thinking lives in the prefrontal cortex. When a child is stressed, abstract thinking decreases. Visual timers make time concrete, and they can externalize it. This reduces power struggles because the adult is no longer the enforcer in ending a preferred activity. The timer is. the brain perceives less relational threat. Instead of feeling controlled by the person, the shift feels structured by the environment. That subtle difference lowers defensiveness. You could say, the timer says it's time for the next activity. Countdowns also allow gradual nervous system adjustment. The brain begins preparing before the transition occurs. Next, always provide warnings. Even a 30-second heads up helps. In 1 minute, we're cleaning up. After this problem, we'll switch. Abrupt change triggers the stress response. Gradual change builds tolerance. Warnings allow the nervous system to begin disengaging from one activity and preparing for the next, and this protects cognitive flexibility. For trauma-impacted students, sudden transitions can unconsciously mirror past experiences of unpredictability or loss of control. A warning communicates nothing is being taken from you without notice. You are safe and you are informed of what's going on. And that sense of informed predictability is deeply regulating. Fourth, and I cannot stress this enough, build strong, consistent routines. Same language, same order, same sequence every single day. When routines are consistent, when language is consistent, the brain builds neural efficiency. It no longer needs to evaluate whether something is safe. It recognizes the pattern. Pattern recognition reduces amygdala activation and increases prefrontal engagement. In trauma-informed practice, consistency is not about control. It's about nervous system regulation. Predictability is protective. When students trust the structure, they expend less energy scanning for threat and more energy engaging in learning. Next, validate feelings without removing expectations. You could say things like, I can see that this is hard for you. You were having a lot of fun doing that, and it's tough to do something different. Transitions can feel tough sometimes. It's still time to line up. Validation reduces limbic activation. So when a student feels seen and heard, the brain interprets connection, and connection lowers the threat. Importantly, validation does not equal agreement. It does not eliminate the structure, it simply lowers defensiveness. Once the amygdala quiets, the prefrontal cortex can re-engage. Structure maintains safety. Validation maintains the relationship, and together they help you regulate with the student. Another strategy that you can try is offer structured choices. Do you want to use blocks or art supplies? Would you like to stand in the front or the back of the line? Do you want to carry the bin or hold the door? Trauma often involves a loss of control. When students feel control is being taken, their survival response activates. Structured choices restore agency without removing expectations. Choice activates the prefrontal cortex because it requires decision-making. Decision-making pulls the brain upward, away from fight or flight and toward executive functioning. You might hear people say that a child is working with their downstairs brain. That means that they're in that fight or flight response. Having them work in their upstairs brain means that they are regulated. Having a choice and having agency in how students operate throughout their day reduces escalation because it reduces perceived threat. Seventh, prime the student ahead of time. After recess, we're going straight to math. I'll give you a 2-minute warning. I'll stay near you. Priming builds anticipatory regulation. The student's nervous system prepares for the stressor hits. This reduces the spike in cortisol that abrupt transitions can cause. It also communicates partnership. I'm with you signals relational safety, and relational safety is one of the strongest regulators of the stress response system. 10 seconds of proactive support can prevent 10 minutes of an escalated behavior. Our next strategy is teach transitions, expectations, and routines and procedures during calm moments. Practice when no one is dysregulated. Role play lining up. Model what it looks like. Celebrate when they're doing the right thing. The prefrontal cortex learns best when regulated. Practicing transitions during calm times strengthens neural pathways associated with task shifting and flexibility. When practiced repeatedly, those pathways become automatic. It may feel repetitive, but repetition builds myelination. Myelination strengthens neural efficacy. That's brain science. We don't build executive function in crisis. We build it in calm and apply it later. And as we are in the winter months, it's important to remember that you can reinforce all transitions and all movement throughout your school day, whatever you want. I would recommend not doing it in response to kids not doing the right thing and making it a punishment, but offer it as something that is important to practice all the time. We only get better with practice. Next, use co-regulation intentionally. Stand besides the student, not across the room. Lower your voice. Slow your movements. Match breathing. The nervous system is relational. It mirrors rhythm, tone, and pace. This is called neuroception, the brain's ability to detect safety or danger through subtle cues. Before a student can self-regulate, they must experience co-regulation. Your calm body communicates safety more effectively than corrective language ever could. So keep in mind, as you are trying to transition a student or give directives, think about how you're giving those directives and how they may be received or perceived by a student who may have experienced trauma or somebody who may be having a bad day. Regulation is contagious, but so is dysregulation. And last, close the loop after success. This transition was smoother than yesterday. You handled that shift well. You handled that transition well. I noticed that you took a deep breath when you were feeling frustrated. When you name success, you strengthen that neural pathway. The brain wires toward what is repeated and reinforced. Positive reinforcement increases dopamine, which supports motivation and repetition. And this is how we rewire survival-based responses into regulated responses through repetition, safety, and acknowledgement. Every one of these strategies aligns with trauma-informed practice because each one reduces perceived threat, increases predictability, and supports executive functioning, and ultimately builds relational safety. And that is what allows learning to happen. None of these strategies require elaborate preparation, but most require intention and consistency more than materials. And remember, transitions aren't just schedule shifts. For some students, they feel like emotional shifts. And when we build predictability, validate emotions, offer small choices, maintain a calm structure, we can help rewire the brain from survival to regulation. Small adjustments in transitions can dramatically reduce escalation across the day. When transitions improve, instruction improves. That's not accidental, it's neurological. One of the strongest themes in the survey was a desire for consistency across classrooms. Shared language matters more than we realize sometimes. When we use common phrases like regulate first, your body looks overwhelmed, or your body looks angry, your body looks frustrated, let's reset. We'll practice this again. Students begin to experience predictability across settings. They hear the same tone, the same expectations, and the same approach no matter what classroom they are in. Predictability builds safety, and safety builds learning. I also want to address a concern that some of you raised. There's a fear that trauma-informed practices will be interpreted as having no consequences, no accountability, or lowering standards. And I just want to be clear that trauma doesn't remove limits. It simply changes timing. We regulate first, teach the skill, and then hold the boundary. A regulated brain can reflect, repair, and learn from consequences. A dysregulated brain defends against them. The goal is not to eliminate accountability, it is to make accountability more effective. So based on your feedback, upcoming episodes will include de-escalation scripts, strategies to support adult regulation, best practices for going to the reset room, and practical phrases that prevent power struggles, and guidance on responding to chronic repeat behaviors. This series will stay grounded in your real experiences and the realities of your classrooms. Again, thank you for the honesty in the survey and reaching out to me to tell me what you took away from the podcast. Thank you for continuing to lean into this work. And if you try something from this episode, I would truly love to hear about it. Email me, text me, stop me in the hallway. We're building this together, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you. See you in the next episode.